for me, it starts and finishes with people. The people of Wales, ultimately, who benefit from arts and health projects and activities, whether that's someone struggling with mental health day to day, whether that's someone recovering from a stroke, whether that's someone living with dementia or affected by Parkinson's. And I think this work by default reaches people that don't normally engage with the arts. So if you care about equalities at all, which I do passionately, this is a really, really important area of work, and it really gets me out of bed in the morning. The people, the artists, the practitioners who are responsible with clinicians for co-designing and delivering this work. We're so lucky in Wales to have fantastic talent and to have artists who, I guess, don't compromise their art in this space. I think, that's where the magic really happens for me, where artists are allowed to be artists in a healthcare setting. But yeah, absolutely. Our artists, our practitioners, the WAHWN network has been massive reason and inspiration for me, and watching the growth of that. The people who we partner and have been lucky to partner, everyone from the Welsh NHS Confed to WAHWN to the Bearing Foundation, the Innovation Agency, Nesaf, all our health boards, Public Health Wales, Social Care Wales, academics who are researching. This brings such a richness to everyday life. I feel so incredibly lucky and privileged to be able to work in this space. And I heard someone very clever once said, and it certainly wasn't me, but they said that progress happens at the speed of trust. And I thought about that, and I really think that kind of sums up what's happened in Wales here, that we've taken time really to work together, and there's been terrific sense of generosity and warmth in this sector, I think. But we've taken time to build relationships and build trust, and from that, we've been able to really achieve a lot, I think. And secondly, the other thing that's inspired me beyond people is the research and the learning. That might sound a bit geeky, but that kind of really for me underlines and the difference that the arts can make to our health and well-being. So I guess I'm really inspired to share that learning and to try and effect change through it. So stuff like arts engagement being associated with greater ability to cope with mental health every day, arts helping young people regulate their emotions. The fact that adults over 50, if they go to a cultural venue once a month, they're kind of 48% less likely to suffer from depression than those that do, and that the impacts last for 10 years. This is crazy, gobsmacking stuff that really has mattered. Because, in my job, which is about advocating for the sector, about telling the story, about persuading people that it matters, having the research and also the great practice on the ground really matters. So I suppose in a nutshell, for me, it's about those people, and it's about that learning. I'm not sure I can whittle down to a few, to be honest. There have been so many highlights. We could spend hours talking about this. But if I kind of talk about some of the national moments, maybe to start with, and international moments, and then really small moments, signing the first MOU with Welsh NHS Confed was a real game-changing moment for me and really exciting. Agreeing with a partner as big as the NHS that we're going to work on this together and not just have a kind of agreement, but work on joint actions and concrete actions. And then from that, seeing the network of arts and health coordinators really develop and expand, so that now we've got whole teams of coordinators in some health boards. That's been such a highlight as well. Definitely agree in the partnership with the Bearing Foundation to work on arts and minds, to see how we can embed creativity within the NHS, and particularly within mental health services, has been so meaningful for us. And it's been great to see some of that work get industry awards and recognitions, like Swansea Bay's Sharing Hope and Hywel Dda's Arts Boost. We've got to mention the HEART programme, and remember that came right in the middle of lockdown and COVID, and how that had to pivot, and the immense kind of learning around, how do we grow and shape and scale projects in this space. I think that was hugely influential. you know, we've got our own lottery programme now for arts and health. That was a moment for me, very proud of that. And the cultural coach that came out of COVID, our creative wellbeing resource for the health and social care workforce, and 70 amazing artists who created content for that. Just to see WAHWN's growth has been immense for me over the years, you know, starting out maybe in 2017 as, you know, a relatively small group, and now a real army of champions and experts and practitioners, clinicians, researchers, artists. I think the WEAVE conference last autumn was a biggie for me. You know, it really hit me how many people were physically back face to face in that space in Newport, and that it was opened by the Deputy Minister for Mental Health and closed by the Future Gens Commissioner. What a journey WAHWN's been on over this time. And great also to see arts and health now starting to feature in mainstream health policies, like the new mental health strategy that's now out to consultation, and indeed the social prescribing framework. You know, if you indulge me, you know, internationally, we've had some great moments. We've been out to Japan to share on creative agency, creative aging rather. We've been to Ireland. We've had incoming delegations from Hong Kong, from Flanders, from Finland. And, you know, we've worked a lot with our colleagues across the border in England, Scotland, Northern Ireland. And I think it's been really lovely to have recognition for the work in Wales and the approach we've taken around partnership, kind of acknowledged in the Lancet Public Health, in the Creative Health Review, and in Barron's Creatively Minded in the NHS. But, you know, if I was to kind of home in on some moments that personally I'll take away with me, and there are too many to share here, but a moment, I think, with Only Boys Allowed, when they sang on the pre-conference dinner for the NHS Confed, and reduced a room of kind of key decision makers, CEOs, chairs, and clinicians to tears through really beautiful music and singing. I think tuning in to Relive and Secret Country, which was their Zoom production that older people made during the pandemic, sharing, you know, what was their experience of lockdown. That was pretty amazing, and I won't forget that in a hurry. First, you know, seeing the Grange Hospital when it reopened, with the amazing art that transformed that. Going on a dismal, gloomy, I think it was a Monday night to Llanelli to T Calv, and to see artists work with young people and Llanelli Mind. You know, to witness the growth of the Welsh language and bilingual project Ara Dibyn, a Made in North Wales project, supporting people who are recovering from addiction through creative workshops, and working with Adra Housing and ychydig and Llenyddiaeth Cymru and Iolantnir. Amazing to see that grow. You know, BCU's launch online and their presentation of CPG, working with male patients, rehabilitating, working with Mr. Formula and Tape, young people in the sun drumming at Buttown, at the Grange Pavilion, Cardiff and Vale, and a whole army of artists. And, you know, WAHWN's emerging charter on arts and health, you know, and making a public pledge to the people who live across the WAHWN footprint. Massively ambitious, massively exciting. I could go on, I'm going to stop right there, but, you know, so many highlights that I'll cherish and take away. Yeah, I mean, obviously it's not all been plain sailing. There've been a fair few challenges along the way. I think I'd say the biggest challenge is around attitudes, around winning hearts and minds for this area of work. And I think that's the key to progress, because once you win hearts and minds, you know, doors open and people work with you and they back the work. So I think one of the challenges was really trying to get beyond what might have been initial cynicism, perhaps amongst health officials, or even indifference, and to try and turn that around. I think a turning point was perhaps COVID, because at that point, it almost re-evaluated, re-legitimised the importance of the arts in lockdown. We really missed live arts in that period. And, you know, arts and health practitioners and the arts community as a whole really rose to that challenge, you know, magnificently, and made such a difference. Yeah, I think the breadth of this area, it's vast. You know, the range of health conditions we could be looking at is just never ending. So that constant challenge of where to focus, you know, the kind of breadth versus depth argument. I mean, most people, I suppose, would say funding is an obvious answer to obstacles. I think we've managed really well, despite a fairly modest budget, I suppose, comparatively speaking, within health. Um, but, you know, going forward, if we want to scale successful projects, if we want to really embed them within the system, we need resource for sure, and financial resource as well. Um, it's difficult, I know, in the current financial climate, but ultimately, we do ultimately need some cash investment from health if, and as we know, we're showing the impact this makes. And we're already getting that from some quarters. I think capacity is an ongoing challenge. How can we grow our sector so that we can really meet the demand coming from health? And I think social care as well has been a challenge, and I kind of regret we haven't been able to do more in that space. There's some amazing projects going on, particularly in residential care homes, and the Cartrefi programme has been amazing. But it's so important. It's such a huge sector. There are such huge challenges around recruitment and retention of staff. And I think it's quite a big, possibly fragmented sector. But I think going forward, it would be great if, you know, we could do more in that area, in the kind of way, in the joined up way we've managed to do with health. It remains ambitious and optimistic. You know, I'd love to see a Wales that kind of really embraces and kind of champions access to the arts and creativity as kind of essential pillars of good health for everyone. You know, and my hope is that creativity will be embedded across the NHS and across social care delivery, you know, as a mainstream thing, not something weird or an add-on, but essential, and that will bring some stability to the sector. You know, I hope we'll be able to continue to think about long-term thinking and investment. I hope we'll be able to build on the equal partnership that we've enjoyed with health, and where kind of ongoing learning is just the norm. You know, we just keep learning, we keep sharing peer to peer. I hope there'll always be a space for testing and innovation. I really feel passionately the sector needs to be inclusive and representative, and that we need to really keep people with lived experience centre stage to all that we do. I think we've got some great firm foundations that we've built over the last, you know, decade in Wales, and there's a network there that we see through WAHWN, and you know, we've managed to build a team Wales, if you like, across organisational boundaries, across sectoral boundaries, and for me, that's been the real strength. And I think there's also a real real will within this sector to embed it further. So I wish everyone well, and I want to thank everyone for, you know, coming on this extraordinary journey with me. And yeah, can't wait to cheer from the sidelines in the future.